But we also have an agency that sells ad space for specific videos.
Literally right in the middle of your story, it'll cut to us like talking about Viagra or something like that.
One of our favorite brands.
Amazing.
It's the Rhino pills from the gas station.
It's off-brand Viagra.
And welcome back to another amazing episode of The Careful Boys, where today we have BD back in the building.
BD!
Hit him, Bart.
So, I think one of the biggest predicaments in entrepreneurship is, like we already talked about, how there's like a lot of times you don't pay yourself, you're trying to grow the business, you want that to flourish. What's like one of the times where, because I feel like every entrepreneur hits this moment, and probably multiple times, where like some sort of new cash cow comes in, but then you have to figure out, do I pay the business or do I pay myself? If I pay myself, I personally benefit, which is good, and especially like the more dependents you have to do that. But then also when you put it back into the business, when you pay yourself, it's like it's 1-to-1. When you pay it back into the business, you can 3x, or you know, your ROI is higher. Like, what are some pivotal moments where you kind of had to decide where the money is going to, and how did you decide?
I don't know if we really had an exact plan. I think as we got kind of going, we invested a lot into the business, into the marketing, kind of like constantly. But I do think today, before, like in any business, you never really know what's ahead. And I do think, you know, you do want to like take some money off the table. You do want to be able to pay yourself. If you can go, hey, you know, year end, we want the bottom line to be this, you know, and we're going to distribute 20% of that back to the shareholders, and the other needs to stay within cash and, you know, kind of continue the cash flow of the business. Some sort of model like that, in my mind, makes the most sense, just because you never know kind of what's around the corner.
So you kind of run lean, but if you hit certain markers at the end of the year, you can have a big distribution.
Take some money out, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you're there for. Like, that's what the, you know, but you have to do it in a way that, like, can you, you know, we need X amount of cash flow, and then we want to invest X amount, and then, you know, if you can, be able to, like, take some off the table. I mean, that really should be, you know, what I would strive to do, especially kind of after all the years of like having some huge years, some smaller years. Like you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because you could have big ones and like all these ups and downs, and if you don't pay yourself this whole time, the whole business can explode, and then 5 years later, you're like, not only did the business explode, but I also didn't benefit at all from it.
Totally. And there's like, you know, I think there's a happy medium, because it's not like you like, you know, hey, we're going to like pull all of this out, because then you're not going to have any cash to grow, cash to, you know, finance inventory, etc. So it's kind of finding that like balance to be like, okay, cool, this is what year end looks like. This is what we need cash flow wise. You know, maybe there's some sort of safety net there, and then let's distribute the difference, you know?
Does your wife work at all, or are you like the single?
No, she's to work with running around all the kids and the schedule. I don't even know how she like maintains this schedule. I'm just like, it's insane. And when it comes to the weekend, I'm like, just tell me where I need to go. 'Cause it's just like, there's so much stuff
To you, it's
going on.
easier to run a 9-figure business than to wrangle 4 kids.
Totally.
Dude, even one kid's crazy.
How was it like juggling like that between having a family, raising kids, and also like running businesses?
I mean, you know, when I started the businesses, I didn't have kids, so it's like they, you know, kind of like, and it was tricky, because especially like early on when the businesses were growing, it was like talking about all the trade shows and stuff earlier. It'd be trade shows here for literally like one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, and then you go to Europe. It was like this constant circuit, and that was like every season. You know.
So would you be aware, or is your family going with you to all these things too?
I mean, my wife would actually travel with me early on, and then when the kids were young. But you know, once they start to get in school and they get into a schedule, you can't just be like, "Yo, we're going on another trip," you know. So then, like really early on, like, you know, I remember them coming on some of the trips and stuff. But then once they got into a schedule, it's hard to kind of like drag them everywhere.
Yeah, I got 20 baseball games ahead of me. I can't just go wherever you're going.
Imagine what it sounds like to tell a kid, "Do you want to go to magic show?" And it's not what they think. It says, "Where's the magic? I just see shoes everywhere."
So like, what, if there were moments that you could pinpoint or like particular things, what were like internal investments, whether it be like, I don't know, paying for a full page print ad or investing into this or whatever, that you felt like were good ROIs? And then maybe what was an example of one that was a fucking waste of money?
I'll start with the latter one first. I mean, we grew a lot of our businesses through like athlete endorsements. Some of them worked out really well, some of them didn't. You don't really know until like you get going with them. And at that time,
And they're pretty hefty, like, contracts.
and at that time it kind of became like, who did DC just sign? Who did Etnies sign? So it was like, became this like war against like who's gonna sign the next person. And obviously those athlete contracts just kept going up and up and up, which, don't get me wrong, some of them were amazing, great for the brand, well deserved. And then there was kind of the flip of that some of them started to get very expensive. They didn't want to go on tour. They didn't want to like compete, depending on what kind of genre they were in. So some of those started to get really tricky.
Were these like 7-figure contracts?
Yeah, I mean, it was a mix between, because especially for DVS, it was skate, surf, snow, motocross, four-wheel motorsports, wakeboarding. So it was a lot of like, had a lot of athletes that were kind of pushing through. So, some would be, small, could be like $5,000 annually. Some would be like, $200,000-300,000. So it was a pretty big mix.
Who was somebody that you were like really wanted to sign, but like you didn't?
God, there's quite a few, honestly, because we're always kind of like, there's a mix of kind of agents and managers. And so, like this contract's coming up, maybe they're not happy. So, and you're trying to kind of like move stuff around. But we had like, some really good folks. I think, we took runs at like a Travis Pastrana at one point, at a Shaun White, didn't get them, but we all had like great kind of squad already, But, at some point you're trying to find like, hey, is there an athlete that kind of fits our brand? Is there an athlete that can actually sell product? Because some sell products, some kind of don't. Yeah, so you're trying to kind of, and then which ones can we afford? So you're trying to like put all these pieces together.
And what about the first part of the question?
What was the question?
Basically, who was the opposite of that? But like, what was an investment internally that like was huge ROI?
I'd say probably the biggest investment we made was investing into Europe. So, as like a U.S. or kind of North American distributed company, once you're trying to go into these other countries, specifically Europe, because that's probably the second largest business, especially for action sports. There's a difference of setting up distributors within these countries, right? So you're selling them the product, then they're reselling it. Or you set up your own European company and then you sell direct because you are the distributor. Once we set up that European infrastructure and we invested into that European infrastructure, that was a huge growth part of our business, because now we then slowly were able to take over all those other countries and go direct in Europe.
So does that mean like your margins were just way bigger and your growth was quicker because you can have your own team go harder?
Yeah, there's two things to it. So you gain a lot of margin, right? Because now you take out kind of the middleman. You're not selling to somebody, you're selling to yourself. But then you also create an expense structure because now you just started a whole nother company, right? And that whole other company takes marketing, it takes sales, it takes all this stuff. So now you also created this other expense structure. So because essentially it's just a whole nother business.
Yeah.
But that part panned out well for us. And then another large component, when you're selling to a distributor and then they're reselling it, typically they're at a little bit higher retail price. So from a consumer standpoint, you're going to be more expensive than if you're going direct.
What up, guys? Thank you for watching us for so long. If you like what we do, please support our Patreon. Joe, tell them what we have to offer.
So every week you get 2 videos. One never released director's cut, and another one 2 half for YouTube, Patreon only. Every freaking week you get that, and you get access to our Discord where you can come chat with us.
And ask us questions that become episodes here, because we're gonna answer them and we're gonna take it seriously, and we wanna give you the responses that you want. So come stay connected with us, join our Patreon, click the description below for full details.
So kind of you gain margin, but you also pick up a lot of sales because your retail price came down to more what would be kind of average within kind of Europe, if that makes sense. So yeah, kind of multiple things happen when you could kind of set up a direct business like that.
Which countries in Europe were like the biggest buyers? Like Germany or
Germany,
UK?
France, Spain.
Was there already like a big skateboarding culture in those countries, or did you guys have to like kind of bring it?
No, there was already a big culture. There was a big culture there. There was a lot of businesses too, especially the surf brands were already going direct, you know. So there was a mix of people selling direct and then a mix of people selling through a distributor. So there was kind of both. I'd say when we very first started, most of them were pretty much all through distributors, and then slowly people started going direct, meaning like setting up their own business there. And that's what we did.
Do you still skate till this day?
I don't really. And honestly, even growing up, I grew up kind of doing everything. But I was probably honestly most into surfing and snowboarding, even more than like skateboarding, especially in my kind of like, I don't know, like young, like kind of teens, young 20s. I was kind of most passionate about snowboarding and surfing. But I think all of those just kind of coming out of like a snow skate type of shop. We were inland, so it wasn't really like a surf shop, but we all surfed. But yeah, you're just kind of culturally like kind of built into all of it.
How important do you think it is for people that want to start a brand to kind of live and breathe whatever the brand is about too?
I think it's pretty important. I mean, I think it's kind of like, you know, like what you just did with barbell. Like, would you be able to do that? Like, if you weren't into fitness and lifting and stuff, like, you know what I mean? It'd just be hard to kind of understand the culture and understand the customers, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Or even if you own a jiu-jitsu studio, but you don't do jiu-jitsu and you're just like a business dude. You know what I mean?
With fake ears.
These aren't real. These are surgically.
Yeah, I think
Good marketing.
I think if you're not like in it that way, it'd be hard to kind of like, how do you really understand that? You can look at like a business just like, oh, that's what the P&L and the balance sheet looks like, but how do you really fix it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So I feel like it's pretty important.
If you were to explain, only because you guys have had this relationship in the past, if you were to explain the business of JK News and then you were to ask us really simple questions that would dumbfound him, I would love to witness that.
Yeah, dude. My favorite's earlier when he like low-key was like, so what happens the rest of the month when you're not here?
Like, so you guys only shoot twice a month?
Yeah. I was like, you guys see what he's asking, right?
Hey, explain the business. I want to know too.
Yeah.
Well, you can start with questions about this business.
Yeah. What are your burning questions about this place?
We'll see if me and now we have 2 people that.
What are you most curious about?
Off camera is mostly about the holes.
So you guys are all equity partners?
Yeah, 50-50.
No, these two. These two, yeah.
Oh, well, what about you 3?
We're 1099s.
We're not employees. They're not employees.
They're contracted.
California wants us to be employees and they want that money for it.
They want us to be employees so bad, but we're not.
But no.
And so all the revenues created by what comes from YouTube?
Yeah, AdSense.
And then is there other revenue channels?
No, that's, I'd say 50%-ish. No, yeah. Maybe 60 would be AdSense, 10%. Yeah, it's divided by like
but half of it is Patreon, and then maybe merchandising, and then the other half is ads. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But then, how do like the views work? Like, how does I sometimes will read about it, but how does YouTube pay you for views, subscribers, etc.?
So they'll have like CPMs, like per 1,000 views, it could be $1, $2, $5, depending on the genre. And then so they'll take your cumulative views for the month,
Okay.
and then they pretty much are buying against your viewership. And then they
Buying
sell
ads?
Yeah, buying ads, and then they'll sell ads to whatever like that you'll see, like Advil or yeah.
But we also have an agency that sells ad space for specific videos, and then they'll like, let's say we get a sponsorship from Rocket Money or yeah.
Literally right in the middle of your story, it'll cut to us like talking about Viagra or something like that.
One of our favorite brands.
Amazing.
But it's not Viagra. It's the Rhino pills from the gas station. Those little
It's off-brand Viagra. and we sell merch. We sell merch. Yeah.
Got it.
He's like, those are all the
So
questions I have.
for you guys, like how do you continually grow the business? Like when you're asking me the questions of like paying yourselves and investing, into the company, do you guys distribute the funds? Do they stay in the business?
Nope, we skip payments for ourselves and pay everybody else.
Welcome to business.
I think there's been a lot of different eras for us. Like I think we there was a time between, I don't know, when we started till 19, when this was our full-time thing. And
the main thing.
And yeah, we had other side projects. I mean, Barbell started in when? 2013? Yeah, so I think with Bart, it's always been JK and Barbell kind of moving, and building. And then I've always had different ventures I got into, but JK took most of our times. 7 days a week kind of stuff, right? Had 4 or 5 channels active. And then we decided to kind of scale back and say, hey, this is going to be like an excuse for us to get together as a part-time thing. And then most of our, like Bart went full force with Barbell, trying to get it ready for acquisition. And then I started opening up tea shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that's kind of where we're at today. And we had to go through a rebranding. We're the Careful Boys now. That was 2021, 22. Yeah. And right now, I think it was all about like, hey, we were at this stage of kind of holding on to it with our fan base, seeing how long it'll just last, and taking a more casual approach. Yeah. But then after the rebranding, I feel like there's actual growth now. So, yeah, I don't know where it's gonna go, but we're kind of enjoying the ride. Yeah.
So is it JK News now, or is it
JK News.
Yeah. So what's Careful Boys?
It's just the era of the
That's like the cast. Yeah.
JK News is the channel, the
Got
cast
it.
is the Careful Boys.
Got it.
Because we have to be very careful.
That's the crew.
Yeah, try not to get canceled, so we're very careful.
And this also happens to be one of those things where this is everybody's fun side job.
Yeah.
Because everybody still has to do like their main thing, and like Joe said, it's too fun and in a sense too easy kind of for us to get together and banter about the stupidest and most serious shit in our lives.
Right.
And we enjoy each other's company, so it's more like we gotta keep doing this somehow.
Yeah.
And our fans now, especially the era of the fans and our relationship with them is really strong right now. And we love our fans and the support that we get from them. So
Sick.
Yeah, so it's kind of like keeping status quo going. We're growing. I mean, I think it's more like in the sense of content that we keep changing things up and growing rather than like, I think we don't have the bandwidth to hit it full force, but I'm holding on to it so that once I do, I can. Yeah.
But I mean, I think once we partner with you to make the news shoes,
News shoes,
like,
man.
things are gonna explode. Once
Things
we
are
hit
happening.
2.09 million subscribers.
Our fans are so loyal though. Like if we came out with a news shoe, I guarantee
They'll
we'd
buy
sell.
it
Yeah.
to be part of the
Yeah.
joke, yeah.
So we all got a bunch of these fucking tattoos. Check us out. We do.
We all
Check this out.
I watched this.
Some of the fans got their own tattoos.
We all got matching tattoos.
Some of the fans. One of
But
the
wait,
fans
what
got one
what does
right
it
here.
say?
Tell
Fear
them.
everyone.
Fear everyone.
But in broken English, though. It's like broken.
Because I feel like I picked up that part of it somewhere.
So the long story short, back when I was 19, me and my best friend got matching tattoos in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And we.
What does that say?
It says fear. We thought it says fear no one, and we Google translated it, so we couldn't double check it. And then so we got it, and then the guy in North Carolina tattooed us. He was like, "Hey, I don't like read whatever the hell that is, so you guys just got to double check what it is."
Right.
So me and him thought it says fear no one. Then Joe's mom saw it. Joe's mom actually reads Japanese. He's like, "Oh, what's your friend scared of?" And then we're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, he's scared of everybody." And then, so me and my friend realized that we actually got it wrong. I told the story here, and then we thought it was so stupid that we're like, okay, if we ever break this subscriber threshold, which we never thought we were gonna break, we'll all get matching tattoos. And we broke the threshold, so now I have two of them. This one's with my best friend, and this one's with them.
So wait, one says fear everyone.
Both the same tattoo.
The exact same tattoo.
Bart got it on both because I said when we all get matching tattoos, he has to get the other leg.
And we all have to get one leg, yeah. But it's not even grammatically correct either way.
No.
Like
It's his first tattoo ever. All of our,
He never even had one.
My wife hates me.
He never even had one.
Yeah, this is pretty.
And then we
That
made
looks like a
merch.
part that would really hurt right there.
Yeah.
We made merch around that, and now we just make merch that's wrong Asian thing.
Fear everyone.
that's the wrong Thai version of
Yeah,
that,
wrong
yeah.
tie.
So it's kind of our thing.
Grammatically incorrect.
And here's a message from Viagra.